Some houses are just houses, brick and wood, mortar and glass. 4 walls built to keep the cold out and the living safe inside. But some houses remember. Some houses are built on grief so deep, so twisted, so unfinished, that the walls absorb it. The floors drink it. And the darkness between the rooms breathes it back at you slowly in the dead hours of the night. This is not a story about a haunted house. This is a story about a man who loved his wife more than he feared the dark, and about something ancient that decided to use that love against him. Daniel and Sera Holloway were the kind of couple that made strangers smile. Married 2 years, still laughing at each other's jokes, still reaching for each other's hands without thinking. They had found the mansion listed online for almost nothing. A Victorian estate, 3 floors, 12 rooms, iron gates and ivy-strangled walls, sitting at the far end of Morrow Lane. Sera had laughed and said, "Relocated. That's a polite word." Daniel had kissed her on the forehead and said, "It's just a house." They moved in on a Saturday. By Sunday night, the house had already chosen her. The first thing Sera noticed was the smell. Not rot, not damp, something older. Like candle wax and iron, and something she couldn't name. The first thing Daniel noticed was the mirrors. Every room had one, floor to ceiling, dark framed and slightly clouded. The reflection was always just a moment behind. He told himself it was old glass, warped with age. Sleep came hard. The walls spoke, not loudly, not in screams, but in the softest possible way. A whisper just below hearing. Daniel lay awake at 2 a.m. He heard it again, from the corner of the room, from behind the tall mirror. Sarafina, not his voice, low and hollow and wrong. He grabbed his phone, turned on the flashlight. Empty. Sera's side was empty. She was gone. He found her in the basement. Sera stood in the center of the floor, barefoot, wearing only a thin white sleep shirt. On the stone floor, surrounding her feet in a perfect circle, drawn in ash, were symbols. Precise, repeating, interlocking. Daniel bought cameras. He reviewed the footage at midnight. At 12:07, something entered the frame. It simply appeared at the edge of the bed. It was tall, and where its face should have been, there was nothing. Just a smooth, pale absence. A face-shaped hole in the world. At 12:18, it turned its face-shaped absence directly toward the camera, directly toward Daniel, and it tilted its head, slowly, curiously. He found the journal in the attic. The journal belonged to Edmund Voss, an occultist. His wife, Serafina Voss, had died in 1889. A ritual to bind the soul, to give them a vessel that crossed the threshold bearing the right name. She only needs a name. He was losing her. The real Sera was still in there, surfacing, grabbing his hands and whispering, "Please don't let it keep me." There was a reversal, a way to break the binding. It required returning to the basement before the possession reached the final crossing. He turned around. Sera stood at the top of the stairs, and her eyes, white, completely white, no iris, no pupil. "You cannot reverse what is finished," she said. And the voice was almost Sera's, but underneath it was another voice, older female. Daniel lunged and caught her as she collapsed. The cold lifted. Every mirror in the house cracked simultaneously. One long, clean fracture each. They left the next morning. They drove away from Morrow Lane without looking back. The mansion burned to the ground 3 years later. Daniel and Sera moved to a small house by the coast. Salt air and the sound of the sea. Most nights, the walls were silent.